The Lumix G7 and the GH4 are both a win-win from Panasonic, and there is no doubt they both have a very special place in the market, regardless of any arguments one can make against them. But I'm not saying that these cameras are perfect for everyone, and that is why we're making this video. Today we're going to take a look at top 10 differences between both of these cameras, and in the end we're going to find out which camera is going to be perfect for you. But before starting, let me tell you, this is not going to be a one-to-one fair review, as both cameras are intended for different consumers. The GH4 has the potential of being a very professional camera. I mean, a lot of productions still use it even in 2018 for specific reasons. While on the other hand, the G7 is intended for a more lightweight and easy to use form factor for a regular consumer. I've made an entire video explaining top 10 reasons why I love the G7, so if you're interested in that, it's linked down below. So let's start off with number 10, which is the overall build of these cameras. The GH4 is made of magnesium alloy body, which is tough enough to withstand everyday field use even in extreme conditions, and overall is a more robust design. Compared to that, the G7 is made of plastic, but it serves the purpose of keeping the body lightweight and easy to carry around. Now, don't let the fact that the camera body is made of plastic scare you away from this camera. I mean, I've personally been using the G7 for almost 2 years now, and I haven't experienced a single problem due to it yet. At number 9, we have the headphone jack. If you record a lot of in-camera audio and want to have the flexibility of monitoring it while recording, then the GH4 is the one that provides you with a headphone jack. While on the G7, the only way to monitor your audio is by looking at the audio levels on the display. At number 8, we have the SD card slot. Unfortunately, both of these cameras offer just a single SD card slot, but the placement is way better and more accessible on the GH4 rather than the G7. On the GH4, even if your camera is on a big rig or a tripod, you can easily swap off SD cards. But on the G7, the slot is located under the camera grip in the battery section, which makes it hard every time you try to change the card. But then again, we have to consider the fact that the G7 is not intended to be mounted on big rigs, and you can always avoid often card swaps by switching to a bigger SD card. At number 7, we have the button placement on both of these cameras. Both the GH4 and the G7 have sufficient amount of customizable buttons. A nice addition on the GH4 is having the scroll wheel and dedicated buttons for white balance, ISO, and exposure compensation. The only thing that I don't like about the GH4's button placement is the location of the playback button. It is on the top left of the camera, which means you have to use your second hand to access it quickly. And this button can also not be remapped to any other functional buttons. But on the G7, I don't face this issue. The playback button is right next to the thumb and is very easy to access. At number 6, we have the HDMI capabilities of these cameras. Starting with the G7, the HDMI output is pretty much unusable. It stops outputting as soon as you hit the record button, so I won't count that for anything. On the other hand, the GH4 does an amazing job of outputting delicious flavors of 4K to be either recorded externally or to be used for monitoring. The GH4 is capable of outputting 422 8-bit or 422 10-bit externally, which you can record using something like the Atomos Shogun, or you can record this signal by using Blackmagic's Ultra Studio mini recorder. At number 5, we have the availability of accessories. In this department, the GH4 is a clear winner, as it has a ton of proprietary accessories that you can buy and rig your camera however you want it. For example, in this case, I have my GH4 inside the Varavon armor cage, which comes with this nice leather strap and a top handle. Also, the GH4 supports adding a battery grip, so if you're a fan of that Canon 1DX Mark II look, you can always add the battery grip and also increase your battery life at the same time. Now, G7 does lack in the accessories department. There are companies like SmallRig that make cages for the G7, but there is no option of adding a battery grip. At number 4, we have Anamorphic video feature. Basically, it allows you to capture the entire sensor using specially designed lenses for recording a squeezed video. You can later process this file in the post by de-squeezing it, and it gives a very nice widescreen cinematic look. Now, the GH4 does have the option of recording anamorphic video in a 4:3 format, and although I haven't tried this feature yet because it's not the type of video work that I do, it's still a great feature to have, and a lot of the filmmakers out there desire that widescreen cinematic look. In contrast to the GH4, the G7 does not have the option inside the settings of recording anamorphic video. At number 3, we're going to talk about bitrate. So bitrate is the amount of data that your camera captures for a specific codec. It relates to the amount of compression going on while you're recording a video. The general rule of thumb is, the more the bitrate, the more latitude you have to push stuff around in the post. And overall, you get better results. Now the GH4 is capable of recording in some pretty high bit rates. You can record 4K at 100 megabits per second, or you can choose Full HD at up to 200 megabits per second, which is very impressive. On the other hand, the G7 is fully capable of recording at 4K at 100 megabits per second, but when it comes to 1080 video, it maxes out at just 28 megabits per second, which is the reason why I always suggest G7 users to shoot in 4K to get the most out of this little dude. At number 2, we have Vlog. To capture high dynamic range, pretty much all camera manufacturers provide some sort of flat color profile, which gives the user more control over the image in the post. Both the GH4 and the G7 come preloaded with 2 flat color profiles, Cinelike D and Cinelike V, which provides a fairly flat image, but in case of the GH4, Panasonic provides an additional paid color profile called Vlog, which is a $100 upgrade to add a super flat look to your video. Now the Vlog has its own pros and cons, and it can be debated whether it's a must-have or not, but for this video, all I will say is that Vlog feature is not available for the G7 users. At number 1, we're going to talk about the image quality and the ISO performance. So let me start off by saying that both of these cameras have a pretty similar image quality, and you can easily cut back and forth between both the cameras without giving it away. Now the place where they differ apart is in ISO performance. In general, you would think that the GH4 is the more expensive camera and would perform better at higher ISOs in low light situations. But no, that's not the case here. The G7 performs way better at keeping those noise levels to a minimum while using the higher ISOs, which makes it even better to take it around for travel trips or to do a run and gun sort of filming scenario. If you've seen my recent cinematic video using the Lumix G7, almost 80% of that video was shot with natural light, and the results I got from the camera were amazing. I definitely suggest you guys to check out that video to see the example of what you can pull off with this camera. So now let's answer the question that we asked in the beginning. What camera is going to be perfect for you? Well, it depends. If you're someone who's doing professional video work and require all the high-end features, and you want the flexibility of recording 4:2 to 10-bit externally, and also if you are working in a controlled lighting environment, then the GH4 is the way to go. But if you're someone who's new to filmmaking, starting out a YouTube channel, or maybe like making travel videos, then in my opinion, you will be better suited with the Lumix G7, as it's more lightweight and easy to carry around, has a better ISO performance, and at its current price point, you will be able to pick up some good glass to accompany it. So that's pretty much it for this video, and a huge thanks to you if you made it this far. Also, let me know in the comments down below which camera would you pick up, or if you already own one, do you agree or disagree with the points that I made? Also, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to press the subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it so you don't miss any future videos. So that's it for this one, guys. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.